What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today is the 26th of August, 2023. My name is Derek, and in this video, we're going to talk about the passing of Bob Barker, the longtime television host, known for his time on The Price is Right. The Price is Right has only had two hosts in its history since it re-premiered in 1972, with the other host being Drew Carey. In this video, we'll talk about the numerology of Barker's passing, and to do this, we'll focus on the language of Gematria. On the screen, you see the alphabetic ordinal cipher, where the alphabet is numbered 1 through 26. This cipher branches off into the base 4, either reversed or reduced. And then, as always, we'll take a look at the extended methods as well, these ciphers producing much larger numbers than the ordinal methods, both Latin and standard. So we're going to talk about a lot in this video, but we're going to focus on the number 99, as this was the age that Bob Barker died on. And down below in the description of this video, I have a PDF file on the numerology of the moon and how the number 666 is so significant. And indeed, when you turn the 90 and 99 values in the moon upside down, you get a 666. You also get a 36, and 666 is the 36th triangular number. So there's a lot to unpack there, but again, we're going to focus on this 99 and how Bob Barker's death falls under the eclipse code. Now, the first thing that popped in my mind when thinking of Bob Barker is how he used to sign off every single show by telling people to spay and neuter their pets. And he did this on behalf of PETA. And intriguingly, when you look up PETA's logo, PETA has a rabbit. Of all the animals they could choose, they chose a rabbit. You know, the fluffy, cute animals that not many people keep as pets. And it just so happens that Bob Barker has died in a year of the rabbit. You'll see here, 2023 is the year of the rabbit. Now, this is something I glossed over in the video I made yesterday on the death of WWE superstar Bray Wyatt, who passed away at the age of 36, another big moon number that we saw. Of course, his real name, Wyndham, equals 36, and we're told he died of a heart attack, which also sums to 36. His ring name was Bray Wyatt, which is another 36. And Bray Wyatt was born in 1987. And notice how that was also another rabbit year, 87. And in previous posts I made on Bray Wyatt, I actually talked about how Bray Wyatt was connected to this rabbit riddle. When he made his return at Extreme Rules last year, there was this white rabbit thing going on, and I talked a little bit about that. Now, if you saw my video yesterday on Bray Wyatt, there was actually a section of it where I started talking about Rowdy Roddy Piper and how remarkable the death of Bray Wyatt was synced to Piper, and I was a little confused. I didn't really understand why. Well, this death of Bob Barker is also connected to the longtime announcer of The Price is Right, Rod Roddy, who, of course, shares a very similar name to Roddy Piper. So, another example, perhaps, of how one major news story bleeds into the other, as I commonly discuss. You know, Bray Wyatt died on Kobe Bryant Day, which was a topic of my video before that. My video before that talked about Beyonce and basketball and Kobe Bryant. It's just wild how Gematria works. It really gives you a clue into the near future, I guess you could say. So let's talk more about this number 99. And what's interesting about the number 99 is that it has the same exact Gematria as the number 95 in the base 4 methods. And notice how Drew Carey and Price is Right also share a 141 with both of these numbers. Now, I point out 95 because, check this out, the full names of both Price is Right hosts, Robert William Barker and Drew Allison Carey, both have Gematria of 95 in the reduction ciphers. If you measure from Drew Carey's last birthday, May 23rd, which, incredibly, is the same birthday as Bray Wyatt, also born on May 23rd. Anyway, Bob Barker died a span of 95 days after Drew's birthday, which is the number that both men share in Gematria. Furthermore, Barker also died 272 days before Drew Carey's next birthday. And in the standard cipher of Gematria, which uses the current 26-letter alphabetic order but mirrors the ancient Hebrew and Greek charts, the name Bob Barker sums to 272. And Bob Barker's tenure as the host on The Price is Right from 72 to 2007 was 12,702 days, which also has this same digits. And the digits 272 are very significant to the moon. This is because if you take the diameter of the Earth, well, if you start with the diameter of the moon and divide it by the diameter of the Earth, you get 0.272 repeating. Both the moon and moon share gematria of 178 in multiple ciphers. Notice how Barker was a span of 17,800 days old when the first episode of The Price is Right aired with him as host. And in Latin gematria, not only does Barker equal 178, but Drew Carey's full name, Drew Allison Carey, sums to 1708 in that same cipher, the one that I consider to be the most significant. So Barker's dead at age 99, matching the moon. When Bob Barker first appeared on The Price is Right, it was 99 days before his birthday. And think about how the moon has 13 lunations every few years. Well, 13 is the only number in the alphabetic order to have gematria of 99 when you spell it out. "99 is also a number significant to the United States of America, which, way back in history, got its name on September 9th, or 9/9. And remember, the U.S. is a nation of 13 colonies originally, and we just mentioned this number. Well, in reduction, the United States of America sums to 99. And in ancient Hebrew, the United States of America equals 227 in ordinal. These two numbers are found in the gematria of Drew and Carey, summing to 99 and 227 in various methods. Bob Barker died 227 days before the total eclipse that passes over the United States in 2024. This being the second of two great American solar eclipses, separated on the calendar by 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days. Now, another reason this is so important is because in Hebrew, the phrase for total eclipse sums to 227. The largest American city that sits in the path of totality of this eclipse is Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio is the birthplace of Drew Carey. And remember, the Drew Carey show took place in Cleveland. Popular sitcom from the mid-90s, the early aughts. Set in Cleveland, Ohio. Now, today's date is also important, the 26th of August, as this is when news of Barker's death actually made headlines. He died yesterday, but made the news today. Well, today is 226 days before that eclipse, and notice how Cleveland, Ohio has reverse gematria of 226, which is also a number of sacrifice. And who knows if people this old are really getting murdered? I personally have a hard time believing that. But it's interesting how the same numbers always appear in death, isn't it? Regardless of what you believe. The numbers 99 and 95 also share gematria with moon, 57 and 51. Well, on the date that Bob Barker died, it was exactly 212 lunar orbits after Drew Carey took over as host of Price is Right in October of 2007. And in the alphabetic order, Robert William Barker sums to 212. Now, again, this count is lunar orbits, so it measures orbits of the moon in relation to the stars. It's a little shorter than a lunar phase. So from the first episode of Drew Carey hosting the show to the death of Barker, exactly 212 orbits. And 212, this is another number of sacrifice. In the two primary English Kabbalah ciphers, the ALW and KFW methods, ritual sacrifice equals 212. And consider how Bob Barker was born in the year 1923. Well, the year 1923 is when we started counting lunation numbers. So on my calculator for members of the site, you can see the brown lunation number. And this is such an important part of decoding, as I talk about in almost every video. Now, Bob Barker's death is also aligned with total solar eclipses, as you would expect. The last total solar eclipse was on December 4th of 2021, and notice how Bob Barker died exactly 90 weeks after that date. Well, in ordinal, the moon equals 90. In fact, total eclipse in Latin Gematria sums to the 90th prime number. And again, this was the last total eclipse that we've seen. When it comes to the moon, there's a very significant cycle that syncs the lunar calendar up with the solar calendar. This is called the Metonic cycle. 235 lunations, syncing up with just about exactly 19 solar years. Well, there was a pretty significant eclipse earlier this year. We had a rare hybrid eclipse on April 20th. Bob Barker died 127 days after that eclipse, which is the ordinal value of Metonic cycle. And this brings us to former Price is Right announcer Rod Roddy, who passed away back in 2003. Notice how he died on the date October 27th, which is written 1027. With the 0 ignored, that's much like the value of Metonic cycle, 127. He was the host of Price is Right, or the announcer anyway, since the year 86. And notice how the number 19 has ordinal gematria of 86. Well, Rod Roddy died 19 years before Bob Barker, which is again the length of the Metonic cycle. And in gematria, his full name, Robert Ray Roddy, sums to 190. This number also shows up with Bob Barker, who was born on the date leaving 19 days in the year, and would go on to die 109 days before his 100th birthday. This brings us to the ongoing skull and bones riddle with Yale University. Now, in the year 2023, Yale University, which is where Skull and Bones is headquartered, turns 322 years old. And of course, Order 322, the other name for Skull and Bones. Skull and crossbones sums to 223 in gematria. And this is a huge number for the moon. We'll talk about this soon. The moon sums to 223 in Hebrew gematria. And the other most significant cycle of the moon is the Saros. And the Saros is a period of 223 lunar phases. This is what allows us to predict the next eclipse. Now, Skull and Bones celebrates its anniversary at Yale on October 9th, or 10-9, which, again, has the same digits as 19, much like how Bob Barker died 109 days before his birthday on the date leaving 19 days in the year. Skull and Bones does not have an official founding date. All we know is that it was established in the year 1832. Drew Carey's first episode as host of The Price is Right was exactly 1,832 weeks after the show debuted with Bob Barker. Now, when you talk about Skull and Bones, I often mention these Georgia Guidestones, which were destroyed last year on July 6th. These Guidestones appeared mysteriously in Georgia and have very ominous text on them, particularly towards world depopulation. And somebody destroyed these things after bombing them last year. Of course, this was on July 6th, or 7/6. That just so happened to have been the 76th birthday of George W. Bush. And Skull and Bones sums to 76 in Gematria. Now, George Bush was a graduate of Yale University, born in New Haven, where Yale is headquartered, and he, just like his father, was a graduate of Skull and Bones. Now, George Bush was the president during the attacks of September 11th, 2001. Rod Roddy, the longtime announcer of The Price is Right, was diagnosed with colon cancer on September 11th of 2001. What are the odds of that? Now, the Georgia Guidestones opened on March 22nd of 1980. That 322 date. Well, March 22nd of 1980 is the same exact day that PETA was founded. Again, PETA, the organization that Bob Barker would announce for at the end of every episode. Measuring from PETA's anniversary to the death of Bob Barker was a span of 22 weeks and 3 days. 223. Now, if you measure to Yale's anniversary on October 9th, we find that Bob Barker died 44 days before that date. Drew Carey, his first episode of The Price is Right, fell exactly 44 weeks after Bob Barker's birthday. In the alphabetic order, kill equals 44. And in Hebrew gematria, kill equals 244. Now, 244 is the Latin gematria of 19. And think about how big of a number 19 is in the Metonic cycle that we just covered. Well, look at how old each of these men were when they began hosting the show. Drew Carey was a span of 244 days older than Bob Barker when they had their first episode. Bob Barker also died. Oh no, I've been had that Skull and Bones thing on there for a while, didn't I? All right, well, I guess what I was showing you guys, the Georgia Guidestones, erected on March 22nd of 1980, the same date that PETA was founded. Wild stuff. Let's move on. Skull and Bones equals 604 in Gematria, and consider how 32 times 2 is a product of 64. Bob Barker died 6 years and 4 days after the first Great American Total Solar Eclipse. And think about how these eclipses create a cross over the United States, just like the bones create a cross under the skull. The word kill also equals 64. So George W. Bush was born in New Haven, which equals 1019. And again, these are the same digits found in 9/11, which was the date that Rod Roddy was diagnosed with colon cancer. Bob Barker died 1 month and 19 days after George Bush's birthday. This is another number connected to total eclipses. In Greek isopsephy, total eclipse equals 911. Now, 911 is the 156th prime number. Eclipses are always separated by 1, 5, or 6 lunar phases, and in Hebrew, eclipse sums to 156. In English, eclipse the sun equals 156. And the final episode that Bob Barker hosted Price is Right aired on the 15th of June, or 15/6. Yesterday, he died 156 days after PETA's anniversary. Measuring from his death to the anniversary of the final episode he hosted, June 15th, gives us 295 days. And this is another big number this year because both 223 and 322 sum to 295. Skull and Bones, also 295 with capital letters. So just to backtrack a little bit since I had the screen covered, Bob Barker dead 44 days before Yale's anniversary. The big kill number. Kill is 244. And again, Drew Carey was 244 days older than Bob Barker when he began his job there. All right. Sorry for the hiccup at the end of that video, but it happens when you go live. That'll do it for this one. Check the links in the description below if you want more information. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you all next time. See ya.